This is World Report. Good morning, I'm Angie Seth. A CBC News investigation shows China is growing more brazen in its threats to Chinese dissidents living in Canada. There are more attacks on members of diaspora communities aimed at silencing their criticism. Elizabeth Thompson has that story.
Everyone is scared.
Yao Zhang knows firsthand the cost of saying things the Chinese government doesn't want to hear, and why Chinese Canadians fear saying them, even in Canada. After Zhang visited Taiwan, China's national police visited her aunt. Private information about Zhang and her family was posted online. Deep-fake, sexually explicit photos of her circulated on social media. Global Affairs blamed the attack on the Chinese government.
Every Chinese overseas has to deal with this mental issue. I mean, they can reach you, of course, online or through your relative in China.
An investigation by CBC News in conjunction with the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists reveals that attacks by the Chinese government on dissidents are on the rise, in Canada and around the world. Questioning family members in China, surveillance, threatening phone calls, online attacks. Many are targeted for talking about what China calls the five poisons: Hong Kong democracy, treatment of China's Uyghur community, Tibet, Falun Gong, Taiwan. Michael Kovrig is a former diplomat who was detained by China. He says China wants to influence how it's perceived.
So you're either trying to incentivize people to be supportive of the PRC of China, or you're trying to censor and silence and coerce potential critics and dissidents to be afraid to speak out. And that's the repression part.
Last June, Parliament adopted legislation to create a foreign agent registry and a foreign influence commissioner. Nearly a year later, those measures are still not in place. The government says it's working on it. Elizabeth Thompson, CBC News, Ottawa.
Manitoba is in a province-wide state of emergency and is carrying out a major evacuation effort. Huge wildfires are forcing nearly 17,000 people to leave their homes. Here's Premier Wab Kinew.
This is the largest evacuation Manitoba will have seen in most people's living memory.
Fleeing at a moment's notice can be a traumatic experience. It's one the residents of Pelican Narrows in northern Saskatchewan have been through. 4,000 people left that village this week, and as some of them told CBC's Aishwarya Dutta, it was a harrowing journey.
The fire is very dangerous.
Stephen Custer made it to Saskatoon, but he worries about what he left behind. His friend, their puppy, and his home.
We could see red flames building up. It was so bright. Somebody had to stay there and take care of that dog because that dog is only 5 months.
George Thomas evacuated to Prince Albert. He says it was nearly impossible to get out.
A bunch of smoke coming towards us, and I thought, holy shit, I don't know how the hell they're going to get past through it because the smoke was coming to the words close to the roads, you know.
Iona Linklater Custer is a teacher at Pelican Narrows. She helped others get out of danger first and then helped her own family.
I just wanted to be safe for my children. That's the main priority.
Officials say this is shaping up to be one of the worst wildfire seasons in decades. Evacuees are now scattered across the province, waiting, watching, and hoping they'll get to go home. Aishwarya Dutta, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Meantime, heat warnings are in effect for most of Alberta. Temperatures today are supposed to hover at around 30 degrees Celsius, including in northern areas where fire crews are working to contain out-of-control wildfires. The fire threatening the community of Swan Hills is still out of control. A cold front is supposed to blow into the area later on today, but those winds can also pose a danger to fire crews. Donald Trump's trade agenda is now in limbo. A court has ruled the vast majority of his tariffs are illegal. And for that, and for now, they are blocked. This includes some but not all tariffs imposed on Canada. And as Katie Simpson reports, the White House says it will fight the decision.
You know, we have the hottest country anywhere in the world.
Donald Trump has long claimed the U.S. economy is set to boom because of his tariff agenda, an agenda that is now on hold indefinitely. A federal court striking down the vast majority of the president's tariffs, all of the measures he justified under the guise of a national emergency. That includes fentanyl and border security tariffs imposed on Canada, Mexico, and China. Those are now blocked. And all of the country-specific tariffs, the Liberation Day ones. Based on his claim, trade deficits amount to a national emergency. Those are illegal as well. This does not have an impact on the 25% steel and aluminum tariffs or the auto sector-related tariffs, as those were imposed using different justifications. The court said Trump overstepped his authority. These kinds of powers typically rest with lawmakers in Congress. The White House is appealing the decision, vowing to use every lever of power at its disposal. In a statement, a spokesman said Trump's reasoning is justified and that unelected judges should not decide how to address a national emergency. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
Chinese post-secondary students studying in the United States are facing uncertainty this morning. The Trump administration says it will begin to revoke their student visas, and it is citing what the government says is a need for enhanced security on future applications from China, including Hong Kong. As Laura Westbrook tells us, the move comes on the heels of a legal fight with Harvard University and its ability to enroll international students.
This is my top one choice, definitely my dream program.
24-year-old Dou Yi was thrilled to be admitted to the public policy doctoral program at Harvard Kennedy School of Government. Now, due to the Trump administration's efforts to strip Harvard University's ability to enroll international students, she is considering other options.
A bit stressful because I didn't consider working before. And I put all my efforts in research and academia.
It's not only international students at Harvard affected by the decisions of the Trump administration. The latest move targets Chinese students studying in America by moving to revoke their visas. Chinese students make up around a quarter of all international students in the U.S., according to the Institute of International Education, who often pay far more in tuition than their American classmates. Professor Wu Xingbo of Shanghai's Fudan University says revoking Chinese student visas would stoke mistrust and even hate between the world's two superpowers.
It makes me reminiscent of the Cold War and McCarthyism. And also, the U.S. is also trying to use the people-to-people exchanges as a card to exert pressure on China, as two countries are locked in a trade war.
Wu expects there to be a drop in Chinese students applying to study in America in the years to come, which he says will be better for China, but worse for the US in the long term. At a Chinese Foreign Ministry briefing this morning, a spokesperson called the decision to revoke visas unreasonable, adding China is already taking it up with the US. Laura Westbrook for CBC News, Hong Kong.
Israel is confirming it will establish 22 new settlements in the occupied West Bank. A Security Cabinet vote on the issue was held in secret last week. Far-right Defense Minister Israel Katz calls it a strategic move, one that prevents the establishment of a Palestinian state he says would endanger Israel. Israel's settlements in the West Bank are widely considered illegal under international law. The UN World Food Programme, meantime, says conditions in Gaza are alarming and deteriorating. There are reports 2 more people have died of gunshot wounds after crowds of people stormed a warehouse that was storing humanitarian aid. Anna Cunningham is following those developments.
Chaos outside the World Food Programme's Al Ghafari warehouse in Deir al-Balah Wednesday. On foot, on motorbikes or by horse and cart, thousands of people showed up desperate for food after a 3-month Israeli blockade. The entrance to the warehouse was breached. People seen carrying away bags of flour. Only wooden pallets and metal storage were left, those 2 eventually taken.
500,000 people are now facing starvation in the Strip.
Martin Griffiths is the former UN Under-Secretary-General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator.
You need to flood the Strip with aid.
Under international pressure, Israel has allowed a limited amount of relief to be delivered in Gaza via the UN or the US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. But Griffiths is not convinced that privately run operation will work.
I don't think they can deliver, even within their own concept.
In southern Gaza, people have been returning to the group's newly established food distribution centre in Rafah. There were chaotic scenes there Tuesday when large crowds gathered. The Israeli military says its soldiers did not fire at civilians. Gaza health officials say at least one person was killed and 48 injured. For those in northern Gaza, like Hada al-Qud, there is reluctance to head south.
Personally, I'm not going to this center because I don't feel safe.
She says she will remain in the north for as long as she possibly can. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
And that's the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Angie Seth. This is CBC News.